Nobody in the small mining town knew where the two little girls came from. One cold morning, people found them sitting beside an old road near the forest. Their clothes were dirty, their faces were pale, and they looked frightened. They did not cry or ask for help. They simply held each other's hands and waited. Many people walked past them without stopping. Some felt sorry for them, but nobody wanted the trouble of taking care of two orphan girls. Among those people was a young mechanic named Ethan. He lived alone in a small house near the edge of the town. He was not rich. Every day he repaired old machines to earn enough money for food and rent. When Ethan saw the girls, he noticed something strange. Their eyes were bright silver, unlike any human he had ever seen. They looked scared, but there was also quiet strength in their faces. Without asking many questions, he smiled gently and offered them warm bread and clean water. The older girl looked at Ethan for a long moment before taking the food. The younger one smiled for the first time in many days. Ethan asked for their names. The older girl softly said, "Luna." The younger one whispered, "Mira." They could not tell him where they came from or where their parents were. Ethan understood they had been through something terrible. Instead of sending them away, he invited them to stay in his small home until they were safe. The town did not like Ethan's decision. His neighbors laughed at him every day. They said he could barely take care of himself, so how could he raise two children? Some even warned him that the girls might be dangerous. Ethan ignored every word. He believed that kindness was never a mistake. Every morning he worked hard at his repair shop, and every evening he taught Luna and Mira how to read, write, and fix simple machines. Slowly, laughter returned to the little house. Months passed, and the girls became part of Ethan's life. They learned quickly, much faster than other children in town. Luna could solve difficult machine problems after seeing them only once. Mira could remember every map and every book she read. Ethan often wondered how two orphan girls could be so talented, but he never asked questions that made them uncomfortable. To him, they were simply his family now. One rainy night, Ethan woke up because of a strange blue light outside the house. He quietly looked through the window and froze. Luna and Mira were standing in the backyard. Bright blue symbols floated around their bodies like tiny stars. The girls were speaking a language Ethan had never heard before. Suddenly, the lights disappeared and everything became dark again. When Ethan stepped outside, the girls looked frightened. They begged him not to ask about what he had seen. Ethan looked into their worried faces and nodded. He told them everyone has secrets and they could tell him the truth only when they were ready. His answer surprised both girls. Instead of fear, he showed trust. That night, after Ethan returned inside, Luna quietly looked at the stars above. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered to her sister, "One day, they will find us." Mira held her hand tightly, but neither of them noticed a tiny silver light moving silently across the dark sky, watching the house from far above. The next morning, Ethan acted as if nothing had happened. He smiled at Luna and Mira during breakfast and never mentioned the blue light. The two girls looked surprised by his kindness. They expected him to ask many questions, but he respected their silence. From that day, they trusted him even more. Deep inside, they wished they could tell him the truth, but they knew it was still too dangerous. Life became peaceful again, but strange things started happening around the small house. Broken machines began working without repairs. Lights turned on by themselves during the night. Even Ethan's old repair tools sometimes moved from one place to another. Ethan noticed everything, yet he believed there had to be a simple reason. He laughed and said the house must be playing tricks on him. The girls looked at each other, hiding worried faces. Far above the planet, inside a dark spacecraft, several unknown figures watched the town through powerful scanners. A tall officer stood in front of a glowing screen. Two small blue lights marked the exact location of Ethan's house. The officer spoke calmly. "The royal signals have become stronger." Another soldier asked if they should land immediately. The officer slowly shook his head and replied, "Not yet. We must be certain they are alive." One afternoon, Ethan took Luna and Mira to the town market. While they were buying food, an old woman suddenly looked at the girls with fear. She stared into Luna's silver eyes and quietly stepped back. Before leaving, she whispered, "Those eyes, I have seen them before." Ethan heard her words but did not understand their meaning. Luna quickly lowered her head, and Mira tightly held Ethan's hand without saying a single word. That evening, heavy clouds covered the sky, and a powerful storm reached the town. Thunder shook the houses and people rushed indoors. As Ethan closed the windows, a bright silver object shot across the sky like a falling star. It disappeared behind the mountains with a loud explosion. Nobody in the town knew what had crashed. But far away, hidden in the darkness, someone had finally found the planet they had been searching for over the last 12 years. The next morning, the people of the town gathered near the mountains to see what had fallen from the sky. Smoke still rose from the crash site, and everyone believed it was a meteor. Ethan also went there with Luna and Mira. As they walked closer, Luna suddenly stopped. Her face turned pale and her hands began to shake. She quietly whispered, "That is not a rock." Before Ethan could ask anything, she quickly looked away. When the crowd reached the crash site, they found a strange silver pod buried deep in the ground. Its smooth surface had no doors or windows. The town leader ordered everyone to stay back because it could be dangerous. Suddenly, the pod began to glow with a soft blue light. Strange symbols appeared across its surface, and a low humming sound filled the air. Everyone stepped back in fear, but Luna and Mira stared at it in complete silence. A loud click echoed across the valley and the pod slowly opened. Thick white smoke rolled out before a tall man wearing shining black armor stepped into the sunlight. His face looked human, but his silver eyes were exactly like Luna's. The mysterious man looked around the crowd for only a few seconds. Then his eyes stopped on the two girls. A smile slowly appeared on his face, as if he had finally found what he had been searching for. Without warning, several armed soldiers from the town pointed their weapons at the stranger. They demanded that he identify himself immediately. The man ignored them completely. Instead, he slowly walked toward Luna and Mira. Ethan quickly stepped in front of the girls to protect them. He had no idea who the stranger was, but he refused to let anyone come near his family. The armored man stopped only a few steps away and looked directly at Ethan with great respect. The stranger placed one hand over his chest and bowed his head. In a calm voice, he said, "Human, thank you for protecting them." Ethan was confused. Before he could answer, the man continued, "For 12 long years, the entire galactic royal family has searched every star system for the lost princesses." The whole crowd became silent. Ethan slowly turned toward Luna and Mira, who lowered their heads with tears in their eyes. At that moment, he realized the two orphan girls had never been ordinary children. Silence covered the valley after the stranger revealed the truth. The people looked at Luna and Mira with shock instead of kindness. Some stepped away, while others whispered in fear. Ethan did not move. He stood beside the two girls just as he had done for the last 12 years. To him, nothing had changed. They were still the children he had raised with love and care. The armored officer introduced himself as Commander Kyle, the captain of the Galactic Royal Guard. He explained that 12 years ago, the royal family was attacked by powerful enemies during a journey across the stars. To save the young princesses, their parents placed them inside an escape pod before the royal ship was destroyed. The pod traveled through space until it crashed on Earth. Since that day, the entire galaxy had searched for the missing heirs. Luna slowly stepped forward with tears in her eyes. She looked at Ethan and finally told him the truth. "We wanted to tell you many times," she said softly. "But if our enemies found us, they would have killed you too." Mira lowered her head and quietly added, "You gave us a home when we had nothing. You became our real family." Ethan smiled warmly and placed a hand on each of their shoulders. He told them they never needed to say sorry. Just as everyone began to relax, Commander Kale's communicator suddenly flashed red. A warning alarm echoed across the valley. His face became serious as he looked toward the sky. "They found us," he said in a low voice. At that very moment, 3 dark warships appeared above the clouds. Their engines covered the town in shadow, and frightened people began running in every direction. Commander Kale quickly ordered his soldiers to protect the princesses. But before anyone could move, one of the enemy ships fired a bright energy beam into the empty field nearby. The ground shook violently, sending dust and rocks into the air. Ethan immediately pulled Luna and Mira behind him without thinking about his own safety. Watching the brave human risk his life for the princesses, Commander Kale realized why the royal family would forever be in Ethan's debt. The royal guards quickly returned fire, and bright beams of light crossed the dark sky. The enemy ships tried to reach Luna and Mira, but Commander Kale's soldiers formed a strong shield around them. Ethan stayed beside the girls, refusing to leave even when explosions shook the ground. The commander looked at him in surprise. Most people had already run away, but Ethan chose to protect the princesses with nothing except his courage. Suddenly, one of the enemy ships flew lower and prepared a powerful attack. Before it could fire, the sky above the town flashed with golden light. A massive royal starship appeared through the clouds. It was larger than any building on Earth, and its shining wings covered the sky. Hundreds of smaller royal fighters surrounded the enemy ships. Within seconds, the attackers realized they had been trapped by the full power of the Galactic royal family. The enemy commander tried to escape, but it was too late. The royal fleet disabled every enemy ship without harming the town below. One by one, the dark warships lost power and slowly landed outside the valley. The people watched in complete silence. They had never imagined that a quiet little town would become the center of a battle between powerful civilizations from across the galaxy. A beautiful woman wearing a white and gold royal uniform stepped out of the great starship. She walked directly toward Luna and Mira with tears in her eyes. The two girls ran to her without saying a word. After 12 long years, the royal mother finally held her daughters again. Everyone around them became silent as they watched the emotional reunion. Even Commander Kyle lowered his head with respect. The queen then turned toward Ethan. Instead of speaking first, she bowed deeply before him. Every royal soldier followed her example. "You saved not only my daughters," she said softly. "You saved the future of our empire." She offered Ethan wealth, a palace, and the highest royal title. Ethan smiled and politely refused everything except one promise. "Take care of them," he said. The queen nodded with gratitude. As the royal starships disappeared into the stars, the people of Earth finally understood that the greatest heroes are not the strongest. They are the kindest.